This is a conspiracy. That's what this is.
Just begging to course its way through your veins.
Let's just for a moment speculate, shall we?
You're into comic books, aren't you?
I'm a nerd.
But you do like comic books.
Comic books aren't just for sad nerds anymore.
Do you think we need one more?
Strange things are afoot at the Circle K.
Do you think we need one more?
Objection, calls for speculation, move to strike.
This is a bad idea. This is a bad idea.
All right, we'll get one more.
Spec Tales, a comic book podcast with Jake and Jesus.
What's going on, spectators? Happy belated Halloween and happy Dia de los Muertos to all. Thanks for joining us for this, the 92nd episode of Spec Tales. I'm your incredibly humble Tater Tot champion host, Jake, along with the beard whose life goal is to get every human on Earth addicted to spicy Skittles, Gushers, and Starburst. He is, of course, Jesus. What's going on, Jesus?
Taste the spicy rainbow, man. I got one addicted last week, Jake?
They're gone, man. Now. Everything's gone. We have no more.
You'll be getting some soon. Don't worry about that, man. Spicy Skittles, Gushers, and Starburst.
Oh, yeah.
They're legit. Yeah, they're legit, man. And if anybody needs some, hit me up. We'll work something out. They're phenomenal. They are very addicting. So Jake's not lying there on that.
And if you're sitting there saying spicy Skittles, I have questions, reach out. We have answers. And I am not a proponent of this. Thank you for that, Jesus. Now I'm a pusher.
I just got to give you the first one free, man. That's how it works.
If this is your first time joining us for Spec Tales, thank you very much for giving us a listen. Spec Tales is a comic book podcast that has collectors and creators. What is your Grail tale? Each week, we explore new stories about the comic book grails we love, the epic journeys behind how they were obtained, and how they inspired new creativity.
We also dive into some comic book speculation and how, as collectors, we can help the hobby pay for itself.
This week, we are very excited to bring back a new listener favorite episode, the Whale Tale episode. And this week's Whale Tale is going to be a little special because we are debuting a new JJ for this week. New JJ sticker, new JJ, and for the first time in nearly 2 years, a new audio drop to introduce the new segment. A lot of new going on here, Jesus, a lot of new.
There's so much new. You can smell a new car smell. I don't know if you guys can smell that while you're in your cars, while you're listening. New car smell is also going on right now. But
yeah,
man,
it's wafting.
the new drop is pretty dope, man. And it's sad that I had nothing to do with it, but also I get to enjoy it. So but it's still a lot of fun. I'm excited about it. It's gonna be something new going forward, and also the new JJ, the new Ahab.
Oh, wait! No, we haven't said what it is yet. Oh my God!
Son of a gun!
Don't worry, I'll edit it all out, and we'll act like nothing ever happened.
All right, fix it in post.
Exactly. But we again have some things to catch up on, Jesus. It feels like it was only yesterday or 2 or 3 weeks ago we were doing the Scärce Army roll call.
Roll call.
Built-in effects, everybody. No, a few weeks back, we did the Scärce Army roll call, and wouldn't you know it, we are at it again. I am incredibly grateful for all of the individuals who, I don't know, maybe we need to start going to cons more often. I don't know specifically that these are individuals that we met while at cons, but I guess we have 3. Well, I guess 4. I mean, one of them is a twofer, but we have a total of 4 new patrons, people that we are incredibly thankful for. Hey, Zeus, do you want to start out? Who are we thanking in this Scärce Army roll call?
So I'll say their names right now, but again, just like Jake said, very thankful, very grateful. It's really cool to see, people, kind of vibing and rocking with us and enjoying the output that we have and what we do and the things we're doing extra on Patreon, even some that's, free for everybody. So, we've been posting a lot. We mentioned we're going to be posting a lot, and we have been keeping up with that. So thank you guys. And the first ones I will introduce as Brad and Lisa Gullickson of Comic Book Couples Counseling, which, seems very apt right now, right? Like to be saying their names for some reason, Jake. Is there a reason for that?
Not that I want to say right now. I mean, let's. What do we always say? That's it's a tease, right? In the biz, we call it a tease.
And that's exactly what that is, man. That's exactly what that is. So yeah, a little bit of tease there. We're very excited. Thank you guys. We appreciate you, both of you, for joining the Patreon. And then now, I guess the next one, I'll let Jake go ahead and say the next one.
Next up, we are going to thank Chris Jenks. Now, Chris, I've said this before with previous patrons. I am not always familiar with all the patrons when they immediately sign up. So the name Chris Jenks doesn't jump off the page at me as an individual I know from our social medias. But Chris, thank you very, very much for following or for supporting us on Patreon. And if you are following us on social media and I just don't like, maybe you have a name that I'm unaware that, Chris Jenks isn't your Instagram name or something like that, hit us up and we will definitely give you a proper shout out where we can tell everybody to go follow you over there on social media as well. But Chris, we really do appreciate the support. It is always great when people support the show because it helps us do more, like go to Dallas Fan Fest, things like that. I mean, we used a little bit of our Patreon money to help us get through that weekend. I mean, it didn't pay for any Grail books, but that's not what the point of this is.
No. I mean, it paid for some of the Grail trip. I mean, that's a trip, right? Getting to
it's a Grail trail.
Person.
Yeah.
There you go, Grail trail. I like that. Okay, last but certainly not least, again, somebody that I don't know, from Instagram, doesn't jump off the page. Eli Collins, appreciate you joining the Scärce Army. Again, if we have you on Instagram, we follow you. We don't follow, or you follow us, let us know. We'll follow you back if we're not, which we usually are. We try to follow everybody on there. But Eli Collins is the newest member to the Scärce Army through our Patreon. And again, thank you very much for joining. We really appreciate you.
If you're out there wondering what the hell is the Scärce Army, you may want to wander over to patreon.com and look up Spec Tales. The Scärce Army is our Patreon. It's our patronage over there where you can support the show for $3.99 a month. It's like adding one more book to your monthly pull list. We all know how tall that stack is, and you ain't reading them all. Although we all have good intentions, right? But we are now posting a lot more over on Patreon with the decline of Twitter. And I literally just read tonight that apparently they're trying to turn it into some like a dating website as well, also a banking website. I don't know what they're doing over there, but we are turning more and more of our attention over to Instagram and Patreon, where we're putting a lot of stuff that is exclusive for patrons, but also just stuff for everybody. We are trying very, very hard to be more active. It is sometimes a task, it is trying, but we are constantly putting up once a month. We are doing Floppies, which is our Patreon only exclusive podcast. So we do that once a month. Last week, we released an episode. We were dead dog tired after 2 days of running around the Dallas Con. And then we decided, you know what? Now that we're exhausted and ready to pass out, how about we record an episode of Floppies? You know what, though? It worked out. We had a few people tell us that was one of their favorite episodes. True story. That was a lot of fun. I'm really glad somebody liked it because we were like, there was no energy.
Dude, man, we had already had, I think we were 2 monsters in, and you were God. 2 Red Bulls in, I guess, and it was the end of the night. But we had everything fresh in mind, and we still had some juice. So we gave you guys everything we had, and like Jake mentioned, we've had a couple people that really enjoyed that episode. So again, Patreon exclusive Floppies once a month. We give that to you, and like Jake mentioned, we're doing a lot more on Patreon for everybody, and also the Patreon exclusive. So if you're interested, go check it out. Jake mentioned patreon.com /Spec Tales podcast.
Absolutely. Thanks for all of you for sticking through that, small sales pitch sort of thing. But we also very much wanted to thank the individuals that did join our Patreon. We do that to everybody who does join it. So if you want to shout on the show, there is a $3.99 way to get that going for yourself if that's what you're into. All right, but let's get to this particular episode because Jesus, we already mentioned it is going to be one of the new fan favorites, a Whale Tale episode, and we're introducing a few new items. But before we can get to the Whale Tale segment, we have to get through
recent pickups.
The recent pickups segment, not to be overlooked, not to be forgotten. This is the one where we're going to talk about something we recently collected or picked up and read. Jesus, you always kick us off. So what do you got?
All right, this week I'm keeping it light because the middle part of the sandwich is going to be a little bit heavier. So this is actually, one of the reasons why I like doing this and like having a presence online and selling some books online is I met up with a recent, I guess, client that bought some books off of me on Instagram. I think it was a Secret Wars number 8 and a Teen Titans, or is it Teen Titans number? I forgot which one it is. The first appearance of the Batman Who Laughs. He bought those two off of me. Shout out Shinigami on Instagram. And I didn't realize he was local, so I said, "Hey man, let's just go to a local comic shop, exchange the books and just have a chat." Get there, we're talking, and he pulls out a book from the what is it called, the shelf, and he's like, "Hey, you still got these?" And the LCS's owner is like, "Yeah, we still got them, but I just have that copy," which is a pretty cool copy in itself. I'm talking, and he recommended it. He said, "Man, you need to read this if you haven't read it," which I had not read it, wasn't on my radar. It's by writer Jonathan Hickman, penciler Valerio Schiti, and then cover artist Mateus Manhanini. That's for the A cover, but I didn't get the A cover. I actually got the Scotty Young cover. Yep. And the Scotty Young cover is so dope. I'm talking about Gods, GODS number 1. Here's so Jay can see it, the Scotty Young cover, which is really funny. Like I kind of want to go over the little funny
the bubbles.
The bubbles. I'm gonna do it because it reminds me of another, of a movie where a little kid is talking to, I forgot who his name is. He goes, "You're white, you Ben Affleck." I don't know if you guys have heard that, right? So there's a kid talking to a floating guy that looks a lot like Doctor Strange. He says, "Hey, Doctor Strange, can I have your autograph?" He says, "Sorry, kid, I'm not Doctor Strange. My name is Win." He says, "Do you have a mustache and a beard?" "Yes." "Do you have white streaks in your hair?" "Yes." "You do magic and stuff?" "Yes." "Hey, Doctor Strange, can I have your autograph?" So yeah, the character's name is Win. I mean, he looks a lot like Doctor Strange. He's not Doctor Strange. This is a thick number 1. There's a lot of story in here. It's the main characters and the main I guess antagonists and protagonists on there are the powers that be and the natural order of things, which is just really interesting and really cool, really different. I mean, Doctor Strange is in it, Black Panther's in it, Doctor Doom. Like it's a crazy start to a series. So thanks for the rec for that. I want to give that rec to you guys. This is a big 2 book, right? Like Marvel book. I don't normally read Marvel books. I'm usually into indie. Sometimes I read Marvel, like the Incredible Hulk, stuff like that. But this one was pretty interesting. This character's pretty interesting. Win. So and again, a lot of bang for your buck on this first issue. I'm definitely gonna be picking up more of this going forward. So Gods, GODS number 1 by Jonathan Hickman. That's my recent pickup for this week.
Very nice, very nice. I am gonna go ahead and say that I haven't read that. It does intrigue me, and of course, Scotty Young is always a fan favorite. Love that cover. I had seen it. Which cover is it? Is it a variant or what's the? Is it a ratio?
No, this is just a variant. This is Scotty Young variant.
Okay.
So that's all it is.
Nice. I like when they make them a little more accessible, because I do know sometimes those Scotty Youngs are a little bit. They're like a incentive variant, and they're a little bit more scarce.
No, this one. I don't think this one. But this was the last one on the shelf. Again, the LCS owner mentioned that it was selling. All the A covers were gone. I mean, we've been hearing a lot about LCSs and some of the stuff that's come out that's not selling, but I can tell you this Gods is selling from what he told me, and then also the Beneath the Trees that we were talking about is selling.
Oh, yeah.
So
Definitely. Love that Beneath the Trees. I cannot wait to read the next one. We may have to beg, borrow, or steal it from somebody who already has like an advanced copy. I'm not sure I'm patient enough to wait.
You think it's out there already? You think?
Oh yeah, there's definitely somebody who has it. Maybe some of our friends over at Comic Book Couples Counseling have it. You never know. But I have a familiar one that we have not had in the recent pickup segment in a while, and that is also partially because the book has not been releasing recently. There was a little bit of a hiatus. And so for me, wait, we got to back up. Jesus, now, great recent pickup, but not necessarily like the most mind-blowing one you've ever had. And I get we've got this heavy dose of Grail Tale coming up. So I'm going to go with 3 tater tots. 3 tater tots for this one.
That's foul. I mean, I gave you a guy that looks like Doctor Strange in a book that also includes
there was a joke, and that's really what set it over. It was a great cover, and it was just one book, No, usually you bring it heavy. Usually you bring a couple of books. I'm just saying, it's a 3 tater tot day, and you should be proud of that. Don't turn your nose up at it. But for me, I'm going with one we haven't talked about in a while, simply because the series has not been releasing a lot lately. I think the last one was maybe June or July. I can't remember. There was a little bit of time off. But this is Ice Cream Man number 37. Did you see this one on the shelf?
I actually did pick that one up too. I just didn't talk about it.
Dude, this one I read right away. And I must say the cover had so much to do with that. And W. Maxwell Prince Will he got me again, right? Like that sly some bitch. He got me. I was reading this. This is if you haven't seen the cover yet, it is adorable. There's these cute, adorable little army soldiers, the Figgly Bumps. And the whole story revolves kind of around these Figgly Bumps and the main character Giggly Winks, which is adorable as well. It's this Giggly Wink going to war, and I want to say, like, gosh dang it, like Will get you right, like he gets you involved. Like, as ridiculous as these things are, you get invested immediately in the story. You just do. You can't help but get invested. And you're like telling yourself, this is an Ice Cream Man story. This is not going to end well. There is definitely this is not a happy ending. And while I don't want to spoil anything, it's Ice Cream Man, everybody. There is never a happy ending. It just does not happen. So, but how it all unfolds, and I do think that there are, I don't know. I'd love to ask Will himself. I feel like there's some commentary on this, or in this, on people who make comic books, because I mean, there's did you read it?
I have not read it.
Okay.
The only reason I picked it up is because he talked about it on his Instagram, and he was very he was praising Martin a lot on how he was able to bring it to life what he had in his head, more so than regular, I guess, or than normal. So
I mean,
I'm very interested.
Martin really, it blows it out of the water, and I mean it's great. I mean, outside of the normal, what we have become accustomed to with Ice Cream Man. And I know Ice Cream Man is not everybody's cup of tea because of how dark and strange it can be, and somewhat non sequitur style. But it really does, when it comes out, it delivers something unique that you just can't find in another series. Genuinely, you will not find it anywhere else. and the writing is top notch. Will could be writing on any number of mainstream big two books, and he doesn't. He does this, and it still blows my mind. Highly recommend. Ice Cream Man 37, really cool, really great book, and there seems to be some sly commentary on creators, artists, creators, writers, cartoonists. And I really do want to ask him if it was intended that way, as like commentary on himself, which it very much could be.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, there was something in there with that.
Yep. The other one that I do want to highlight is so I text you a photo of this book right away, and I said, "Do you know what this is?" You didn't know what it was. I didn't know what it was.
Nope.
I had not heard about it prior to walking into the LCS. And with a book like this by a publisher I've never heard of, you would think that you would want some sort of, I don't know, pre-drop promotion stuff going on. Like, we are a comic book podcast. I mean, it is literally our elevated hobby. I don't know what we're calling it. I guess we can't call it a job, but basically we make it our job to know about what books are coming out, what's going on. And while we don't always know everything, we're two humans who have families, kids, all sorts of shit that we can't keep track of everything. We should have heard something about this coming out. This is a weird sci-fi story. I was in my LCS and there was a book on the shelf, and it was covered in, like, it reminded me of like basketball cards in the 90s. You would see them, like, the packages, and the all like foil, right? Like shiny, shimmering. And this one, the book on the shelf, was inside packaging. You couldn't see what it was. I had no idea. There was the name on the front was Blitmap. And I couldn't tell if that was the publisher. Was that the name of the book? Was that the name of the artist? Like, I had no idea. There were no other names on it. It just said Blitmap and some very limited information on the back, which I guess did detail that it was a science fiction story. Other than that, not a whole lot of information. And my LCS owner hated it, by the way. He was just like, cardinal rule of comic books, you gotta show people what they're buying before they buy it. On a number one, he was like, this is the first number one book. Nobody's heard of it. He said he had people asking him, what is it? And he said, I don't know. And they said, okay, well, I'm not going to buy it.
Okay. Let me stop you there for a second, real quick. This is just a quick, ask, and then you can continue the story. But does this LCS carry Bad Idea?
It does not. It does not.
Because that sounds very Bad Idea-ish.
No pun intended.
I mean, no. I mean, that's why they named it that, because they wanted to do stuff that was like would be considered dumb in the comic book realm of distribution and sales. And some of the stuff worked and some of the stuff didn't. They're on Kickstarter now. I think they're trying to kickstart some stuff now, whereas before they came out guns blazing. But that sounds, what you're telling me sounds like, and I hate to use the word gimmick, but I mean, it's kind of a gimmick, right? Like,
there's
a gimmick.
Certainly a gimmick to it. And the reason they had a bag, a foil wrapper around this book, as you can see when I'm showing Jesus the cover here, it looks pretty cool. It's pretty cool artwork.
It does look, it is pretty dope.
But here's the thing, from my understanding, and I've only seen this one copy that I bought. My understanding is that all the covers are different, which is a cool idea. I don't know, or there's at least a vast variation of covers.
Was there only one on the shelf there?
No, there was a few, but I guess I kind of just wanted to test it out with the one. Yes, I opened it. Yes, I read it. I wouldn't be talking about it right now if I hadn't gone through and taken a look at the story. The story is very sci-fi. I will show you some of this artwork, Jesus. It is cool. It
I didn't
actually
expect that.
slightly reminds me a little bit of our friend Andre Lima
Yeah,
Araujo's art.
that's what I was gonna say. Phenomenal.
It's got a little bit of that style to it. Lots of great detail,
So
landscapes,
who's the writer,
cityscapes.
artist?
Yeah, so let's go over that because these are two individuals I had not heard of either. And once again, I'm not end all be all, but I just have not heard of them. Mateus Basla, Basla, is the artist, and the writer is Jack Timmer. And I once again I tried to look both of them up on socials and didn't really have a whole lot of luck. That means
Interesting.
absolutely nothing. I mean, they might be very prominent on there, and I just searched the wrong names or something. I don't know.
Dude, it sounds. I mean, who's the publisher?
The publisher is somebody by the name of Sup, S-U-P. And I
And
do know that they are out of New York.
that sounds. You know what that sounds like to me? Like everything you're telling me is pointing to pen names, pseudonyms, or whatever. Like where it could be somebody else, and they just didn't want to put their name on it to
That's
see if
weird.
they could.
Interesting.
Yeah, to see if they could sell it like as a story or as a thing, versus saying, "Oh, this is Scott Snyder." You know,
Yeah.
obviously, if it's Scott Snyder, it's gonna sell, right?
The
So that's
writing was good. It was a straightforward, fairly simple story. And really this first issue is really just setting up the base of the arc of these characters coming together. Characters from different side of the tracks, basically, coming together on an adventure. And the book ends really at the mouth of the adventure, the beginning of the adventure. But something distinct that you find out at the very end of this book is that there is a call to action. The worlds are yours. And it says, thank you for diving into Blip Map issue number 1. Amidst a cosmos of nearly infinite choices, we're so happy you've chosen to immerse yourself in this world. And then it goes on to say, Blip Map IP is open source.
what?
It is full on inviting you to create your own story within the Blip Map world. And it goes on to tell you that it's completely open source, and then it gives you an example of a Blip Map story of something, it says to jumpstart things a bit. The next few pages feature a story that uses Blip Map IP in a completely different way. So they're saying you don't need to make a story about the characters that they've introduced in this book. You can take the world that they've built in this book and make your own story. They will not sue you for it. They are inviting you to do it. So it's an interesting premise. It is new and different, and I'm intrigued to say the least, but I can't say I'm personally going to go out and write something for it. Go ahead.
You had me at 90s basketball packaging. Just an FYI.
It is cool. And to be fair, I will certainly be interested in seeing what happens next. I got to do a little bit more research though.
You sold me, man. I'm gonna go look for one. I didn't see it there at the one that I went to. But I definitely want it now. I think it's really cool. I'm gonna, pay off these risks, these chances that they're taking, because I just think it's cool and different, and it's not something over the top or crazy or doesn't look like a huge money grab kind of deal. It's kind of seems earnest and different and cool and new. So for sure, I'm gonna be out there looking for it.
Well, I want to see what the other covers look like. So you've got to get one just so that we can see another cover. And if there's any listeners out there that actually jumped on this, please reach out to us and let us know. Show us what the cover looked like. I didn't see anybody posting this on social media, on Instagram or Twitter for that matter. And if you have one, let us know. I'd be interested in seeing it. All right, that is going to do it for the recent pickup segment. I'm going to go ahead and award myself with 3.5 tater tots, simply because I had 2 books to Jesus's one, and mine was from a former guest and friend of the show, W. Maxwell Prince, or two friends of the show, along with Martine Morazzo. So, and I did explore into uncharted territories. So maybe I get 4. Yeah, I get 4 tater tots now. I've convinced myself of it.
What do future guests? How many tots do I get? Because at some point we're gonna have Jonathan Hickman on. So I mean,
well, those tots are awarded at a later time. They are retroactively awarded, but we can't do that yet. So, but Jesus, you know what that brings us to?
Yes, the new drop.
The new drop. Everybody, quiet. Shh, quiet, everybody. Okay, here we go.
Well, shiver me timbers and walk the plank. There be another whale tale on the horizon.
That's right. The whale tale is here. We are here to drop some whale tales. And to everybody out there maybe not familiar, normally we have the Grail tale in this segment where we tell the story of the acquisition of a comic book Grail, whether that is a listener submitted Grail tale or one of our guests recounting the story of their Grail. In this particular instance, Jesus and I, we wanted to do a new segment like the whale tale where we could talk about a comic book whale, a book that is so hard to obtain, but it doesn't mean that it shouldn't be highlighted. It doesn't mean that it shouldn't be talked about. And in this particular instance, I believe we have 2. Jesus, am I correct in that? We have 2?
Yes, we have 2. I had one picked out already, which I had already done the pre-work and the research on. And then something kind of crazy happened the past couple of days, 3-4 days, where something else, hit my desk, if you will, on these whale tales. And I wanted to talk about that one too. So I was like, hey, let's do a 2 for 1. I can save one for later, but why? And there's plenty more where that came from. And why not give our listeners some 2 cool things to kind of look for, discuss, and kind of learn about.
Yeah. Sounds good to me. Let's do it.
All right, so the first one I'm going to start with is the first one that I heard in the pre-work on, which I think it's really cool and different and interesting, and didn't really know too much about it until I started really getting into it. And remember, we talked about those Golden Age books and the photo journal of the guy named Gerber who went around, looking for every Golden Age book that he could, indexing them, archiving them, taking pictures of them. And then remember, the scale goes up to 10, right? 10 is the most scarce, which is basically doesn't exist, never before seen. And then right below that is a 9. And there wasn't too many 9s. I think there was only like 26 books that received a 9. And I looked through those books and I found one book to me that stood out that was very interesting. And it's kind of affordable, but it's really scarce because it's a Gerber 9, right? Like it's really difficult to find. And I'm talking about none other than CATMAN, not Batman, CATMAN Comics number 13 specifically. And the artwork on this is pretty cool. CATMAN is his own thing. So I'm going to go into a little bit about CATMAN as well. Obviously, to compete with Batman, someone made a CATMAN. The cover is, CATMAN fighting what looks like, some Japanese, what is it? Army, what is it called? Army fighters, army.
Yeah, soldiers. I see the
soldiers. Yeah,
there's a couple of soldiers on there, but I can't. Then the other 2 characters. I'm looking at the cover right now, CATMAN 13, and it's an interesting
10-cent cover.
Yep.
There's also like 2 figures in the forefront who have like when you see that character on the bottom, what do you think of when you see it?
I was gonna say like it looks like a female like Robin like style character or Catwoman.
Exactly. So Catman, sidekick is a young female, and her name is Kitty. just like Batman and Robin,
Okay.
Catman and Kitty.
Yep.
And one of Catman's powers, or his lore, is that he has 9 lives. So that's one of his things, is he has 9 lives. So this came out in August of 1942. Very old. Artist is Charles Quinlan. And if you look at his art is pretty dope, man. I hadn't seen his stuff before. I probably had, I just didn't know it was him. And the writer is also Charles Quinlan. And the unique thing about Catman is, for some reason, I don't know. I mean, it was pretty popular back then. Nobody copyrighted it, so it's in the public domain right now. And a different publisher in the 80s and 90s, I think, picked it up and started making Catman, new Catman books. I think even as far as recently, I mean, that company is still up and running. The publishing company is still up and running, and I don't know if they've done any recently, but they have it in their I guess back issues of the new Catman, and they changed up some of the lore. They changed up some of the stuff. Like Kitty was made into an adult Kitty by him giving up one of his lives to save her, but when he saved her, she became an adult. So this book is super rare. It's super rare. I don't see any on the census. I'm looking at the census right now for it, and the only thing I can see is that there's been, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 different grades of this book, all the way up to an 8.0. A 4.5 of this actually sold in April of 2023 for $16,800.
Whoa.
The 4.5. Yeah. But prior to that, so check this out. In December of 2019, a 4.0 sold for $3,200. So this book was not the $16,000 4.5 of 2023. I mean, a 5.5 in 2019 sold for $7,000. This is all pre-bubble stuff, right? So
Yep.
it's not like, I don't know. Maybe that 16,800 is a blip on the radar for a 4.5, but it just wasn't selling for that much, even though it's really, really scarce.
Yeah.
So that's the first and here's the other thing. That Catman, there's so many, like, I think there's, let me see how many, 20, 32. 32 is in the initial run of Catman from the 1940s. And then there was like a reboot, and they started with the 1, but then it went to 5, and then another reboot. So some of those are kind of jacked up. So be careful when you look at those early ones to make sure it's from 1942 and not from the 1950s. But that's a really cool run to also kind of get into, because they're not like super, super coveted. They're not super expensive, and they have really cool covers, including the number 13, which I think is pretty cool. It's
I think number
cover.
13 is cool. I have to point out, because we've had that conversation with Ryan at Automatic Comics, with regards to Golden Age books and kind of the bingo card. Like, can you check these things off? Cool covers. What is that? Damsel in distress. I mean, we've got a couple of those things on this cover specifically, but the cover that also strikes me, and it's got a famous artist on the cover, which is interesting because I've never even heard of Catman comics. But number 3, Catman number 3 has an LB Cole cover, and we both know LB Cole, I mean, that is synonymous with money when it comes to expensive Golden Age covers. But there's
so which one are you talking about? Because there's the one from 1941, number 3, or which one?
Yeah, I'm sorry, the one from 1941, which is
okay.
Yeah,
That one I have as a Quinlan cover.
Quinlan? Oh, okay.
Yeah, Charles Quinlan. But that
I'm seeing
cover
LB Cole. Maybe. Well, LB Cole was involved. I guess there's a little bit of confusion. Sorry, everybody. I guess I'm not entirely certain. I have here LB Cole, but maybe he's on the interior.
It could be, but that's a cool cover in itself because it has Hitler, Mussolini.
It's got Nazis. Yeah, that's also why I thought it might have been LB Cole, because you know how he likes to kill Nazis.
So,
I mean, for good reason, everybody. I'm not putting that down.
So what are the 3? It's Mussolini, Hitler, and what's the third one? Stalin. It has Stalin. So it has the 3, and Catman going against the 3 of them.
with a
That's what I'm
machine
saying.
gun,
Like,
by the way.
yeah. So these are, I mean, again, and like you've never seen these either, right?
No,
Like
nope,
you've never
never
come
heard of them, never seen them, and I'm looking at that like that. I'd take that cover.
That's what I'm saying. Like I would take, like it's like there's another one, number 20, where Catman is literally choking out Adolf Hitler. Like it's just it's funny.
You know what? On that Catman number 3, what did we say the explosion time was for these comics? 2020,
Like what do you mean?
right? When did comic prices go nuts?
The 20, the latter part of 2020. So yeah, 2020 to 2020, end of 2021.
So weirdly enough, there was a sale for this Catman number 3, which is potentially an LB Cole cover. I guess we're not 100% sure. But I mean, regardless, it still hits the bingo cards, right? You've got the Nazis, you've got, just lead character busting through a wall, a very big superhero pose going on this book.
Yep.
A 9.6 sold of this book September 13th, 2020. All right, so supposedly after the boom,
In the bubble. Yeah.
yeah, with the booming bubble, 9.6, like that's also for a book from 1941. That's a big number, right? This book sold, and I know this is not a small number, but by comparison to a lot of other 1940 Golden Age LB Cole covers, this book sold for a mere $36,000.
Yeah.
That's
And I mean that's 9.6. So here's the other thing. On the census for the number 3, there's 27 on the census. 27 total books on the census. And again, number 3 is not a 9. It's not a Gerber 9. So that means that number 13 has less than 27 on the census. So again, man, there's a lot of cool ones that I saw on there that I'm gonna be looking for now. I didn't know I wanted them, but they're and the thing about Catman too is, being in the public domain is a negative, right? Like Ryan said that there's no life for them in the future, but I think there is. If it's in the public domain, somebody can say, hey, I want to do a Catman video game or a Catman movie, and they can do it without having to worry about being sued by anybody.
yeah.
Now somebody can make a parody of it or whatever, but anything you do with Catman, like let's say you create some new stuff around him that you can keep as your own IP, but Catman will be in the public domain, so will Kitty. But it's just a built-in history, a built-in lore, built-in thing you can play with. Like I saw that and I immediately was like, oh man, that's pretty cool. That's a hero from the 1940s with that much history, and it's in the public domain. We can mess around with it if we wanted to.
Yeah, I'm just scrolling through. So now I'm on Go Collect, everybody, and I'm just literally scrolling through the covers, and there's so much good stuff. It almost feels like when they were doing so early on, it definitely has kind of a Batman feel to the character and the way it's depicted. And then in the 40s, it seems to get a little off the rails and it starts feeling a little bit more like Captain America. There's a lot of you know what? I'll just go out and say it. There are a lot of racist covers to kind of dodge in between. There's a lot of Asian soldiers depicted and some of them not in great ways.
Yeah, like number 9 for sure. But I think that's why
that's the one I was looking at. Yeah, number 9 was bad.
But number 13 I felt was fair, right? It wasn't.
Yep, nope. I don't disagree with you on that. That one definitely doesn't have the number 14. Number 14 has some pretty bad imagery as well, which I know Ryan now those books generally do sell, but I was kind of leaning on into Ryan's perspective on that. He would just rather that's not a collectible he wants to covet or have.
Yeah.
Which is
like I'll give you I mean, that's fair, dude. I don't want them either, and it sucks because, like, I'll give you an example. Number 24, classic cover art by Alex Schomburg, but it definitely has those racist tropes on there, which I would not. And it has a lot of tick marks, right? what is it, the good girl bondage stuff,
Yep.
you know, and Big Hero on the front. So that one is something I wouldn't buy. But then you look at number 28, which is LB Co cover. That one with the skull on it, a skull
Oh
on it
yeah,
on a
a
Catman.
skull. Yeah.
That one's dope. And then you look at number 29, which is also LB Co, but it has like some of that Thundra, you know, what is it, jaguars and tigers on it and lions on a
Yeah.
Catman, which makes sense. His name is Catman. It also has you know, Kitty in trouble again. She's always in trouble, man. Why doesn't he figure it out that she's always in trouble? and then the final issue, I don't know who the artist on this one is. It doesn't say, but it's also reminds me of Aquaman. They're underwater with the huge shark and some fish, which is pretty cool. So I mean, yeah, there's some stuff you got to bob and weave in there, man. But other stuff is really cool that is very collectible and doesn't look like it's that expensive for what it is, right? LB Co covers, classic covers, and
But the key is these are not easy to find, but it is kind of like if you're trying to put yourself on a fun path to chase down, like there's some whales in here. There's some legitimate whales that I think would be I don't know, pun intended, a great catch. There's a lot of these
yeah.
books. And just honestly, all of these for a series. Now, something tells me I've seen Catman Comics 28. There is something that visually about that where I'm like, I've seen. Yeah, you're right. The skull cover, the wax, and the guy with the monocle. Monocle men are always, maniacal monocle men.
There's a 1.0 right now, number 28, LB Cole, 1.0 for $2,000,
Oof. Oof.
or make an offer.
Oof. Yeah, that's a rough one.
Dude, I think number 10 is pretty cool too. Catman number 10.
Yes, yep. I see that here too. I do like that online you can just look up and see like just a full listing of all of the covers just stacked. It certainly makes it easier. Yeah, number 10 with the big face, is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah, in red, I feel like that's why I like Daredevil too, because sometimes when they have them full on red like that, it just the cover pops.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, well, we've I guess gotten through Catman, but you've got one more trick up your sleeve.
I have one more trick up my sleeve. This one hit the desk, and it was really interesting and crazy to kind of see what happened with this and how it happened. And obviously, we're going to tell you to go and watch. And this is, friend of the show, friend of ours, Ryan from Automatic Comics, which Jake and I haven't even really talked about, but I guess we'll talk about it here. But Chamber of Chills number 19.
Oh, God.
And Ryan has talked to us about that book before. He had that book already in a lower grade. I believe he had it. I think he had it in a lower grade. And it's a classic cover. It's the one with the blonde in a red dress, and there's a skeleton hand holding up a glass of some form of liquor or something. And through the glass, through the liquid, the blonde in the back, you can see her skull and just her skull through it. So it's just a really cool. It's been homaged, millions of
Yeah,
times.
it's one of the most swiped covers ever.
Yeah. And it's just a dope book, man. It's just a really cool book. And Ryan, posted on his Instagram, which when we go, he says, watch the video. So I go watch the video and kind of the story of him, how he got that book. And what he got is he got a 7.5 of that book. And it's also a pedigree of, I don't know, it's called Blue Boy or Blue something pedigree. So it's a big, really big boy book, man. And let me tell you how big boy book that is. So Chamber of Chills number 19 on the census, right? Let me see. On the census, Chamber of Chills number 19, there's 123 total books on it. And again, guys, this is just CGC. This is not CBCS or raw copies. This is just CGC. But it kind of gives us an understanding of how rare a book is. 123 on the census. His is a 7.5. There's 6 7.5s on the census. Okay. There's, let me see, 7 8.5s, 7 8.0s, 7 8.5s, 4 9.0s, 2 9.2s, 1 9.4, and 1 9.6. And that's it above his 7.5. Right now on, let me see, on eBay, just hold on. Bear with me real quick. I thought I had it up, but I didn't.
I've got one eBay pulled up. It is a 1.8. 1.8, and their buy it now asking price is $9,699. Now you might say that's just some jackass jacking the price up. And I mean, it's partially true. However, when a book is as scarce as this, you can pretty much charge what they want.
Well, let me share with you, because you got that one. Okay, there's a 3.0 for 15,000.
Okay.
There's a 4.5 for 19,900.
Oop.
There's a 5.0 for 25,000.
Oop.
There's a 5.5 for 30,000.
Oh God.
And none of these are pedigreed that I can see. No, none of them are pedigreed. So his is a 7.5 with a pedigree. So needless to say, it's a big boy book, man. It's a really big boy book. Congratulations to Ryan on that. I think he said he picked it up from the guys over at Flip Mode Comics. But that book itself, so the artwork on that is from Lee. I think it's artist is Lee Elias. The writer is Bob Powell. It's from November of 1953. Iconic cover art, and this was prior to the establishment of the Comics Code Authority.
Yep. I still feel like this would pass. Don't like this is not the most gruesome pre-code horror book you've ever seen, right? Like I think this could have passed, right?
Yeah, I think so. And it's also, well, the smoking. I think the smoking.
Oh
maybe.
Yeah, the smoking. Smoking kills kids. Don't smoke cigarettes.
But man, it's a black cover. The Chamber of Chills is in yellow with white, like face to white with the red outline. I mean, it's just a classic cover, man. And I'm sure there's more out there. I'm sure there's some raw ones out there. It's something that had come across before. We talked about it. I hadn't really paid too much attention to it, but it's just having its moment right now. And I just wanted to talk about it because it is something that is coveted. It's really coveted because of the rarity of it and how like on the mark it hits for pre-code horror. I mean, this is like the belle of the ball right now. So I definitely wanted to talk about it and kind of, share that thing about Ryan, and go check out his video on Automatic Comics on YouTube and how he got it and how it came up. And he kind of explains like he really wasn't trying to, but everything just seemed to work out all at the same time. And that's how some of these things happen, right? Like he wasn't really looking to buy it. That's a really big book. He was basically paying full or more for it. But at the same time, it's a 7.5 of that book, man. Really cool.
Yeah, no, congrats to Ryan. It's always cool. And I don't know, you and I tend to pay a lot of close attention when our friends get grails, get massive books. This is a book that really for I think most collectors is a white whale. It's priced so high, it's almost never going to be within your range. And even when it is in your price range, you still have to find one that is available. And this is a white whale book. And we experienced one of our friends getting it. It's a cool story. Definitely worth talking about. So, well played, Jesus. All right. That is the end of the Whale Tale segment. I hope you all liked it. I hope you all enjoyed the new audio drop. We are going to continue to do these Whale Tale stories simply because I do think it's fun to highlight the books that maybe aren't had yet, but we can highlight them. And maybe just maybe some of our listeners will go out and snag that whale and let us know about it. So if you do get yourself a whale and it becomes a Grail tale, of course, let us know. We'd love to hear the tale. But that said, we are moving on to our final segment.
Speculation.
That's right, the speculation segment. Hey, Zeus, this is the one where we're going to talk about something that we think is undervalued, underrated, or maybe just it's the right time to buy in case you want to help the hobby pay for itself. I've got something interesting that I'd like to talk about, but what do you got going on over there?
So, I've been thinking about this, and we're recording this on the eve of All Hallows Eve, no, of All Hallows Day or All Hallows Night, Halloween Eve, basically.
Yeah.
And this is gonna release on Dia de los Muertos, basically on November 1st, right? So, um, I have a couple things that I've been thinking about a lot, and okay, I'm just gonna get into it. The first one I have, so we've seen a lot, and one of our favorite writers, James Tynion, also had a Dracula that just dropped, right? A Dracula book.
Yes, he did.
So it got me to thinking about that and how ubiquitous Dracula is with scary stuff, and at the same time, like people don't want to touch it because it's so like not obvious per se, but like everybody talks about it, everybody writes about him. He's been done so many times. And I talked about the All Nighter, which is another take on Dracula or a different take on Dracula, stuff like that. But then I just got to thinking about classic covers and stuff like that, and I couldn't help but come back to Creepy Number 7.
Oh yeah,
Creepy Number 7, 1966, cover art by Frank Frazetta featuring Dracula versus Wolfman. It's just a dope cover. Their magazines, we've talked about these forever, man. Forever. Get these books, man. Get these books now. They're gonna continue to go up. They're hard to find in high grades because they're magazines. One, like they're just bigger, so they're more prone to damage or being damaged.
definitely.
But then also they're graded on a different scale, right? They're graded on a different scale. So if you can find Creepy Number 7, and right now again, just because Dracula, Wolfman, classic cover art, that's my first one. That's my first speculation pick.
Okay.
My second speculation pick is more of the same. I'm going with Eerie number 23.
Yes.
Which is cover art, classic cover art by Frank Frazetta. This is from 1969, so it's 3 years after the Wolfman. And it's just, again, classic cover art. The original artwork is worth millions of dollars. This book here, again, finding it in good grade, good quality, higher grade is going to be difficult. So if you can find it, get it. And it's tough because you're gonna have trouble like storing it, but you can. I mean, I'm sure you can figure it out, right? You can figure it out and get them now because we're talking about. I really honestly feel we're like 5 to 10 years away from these books skyrocketing because they're gonna be even more rare. They are Frank Frazetta covers, and Frank Frazetta was a master. So pick those up if you can. Find them. You can still find these in like what are they called? Like not dollar bins per se, but bag bins. They're not usually, put prominently up in back walls or with the big books or the expensive books because they are niche, however you want to say it, or scarce, however you want to say it. So definitely go out there and look for them. You'll find them. I know you'll find them. I found some. I think I found one for $8, if I'm not mistaken, at one point, like a year and a half ago during the boom. They're out there. Just go out there. It's fun looking for them. When you find them and when you see them in person compared to when you see them, on your phone or on the internet, you're gonna be like, okay, this is really dope. I really like this cover. So go get them. Yep. Those are my spec picks.
And I'll tell you right now, I know for a fact that my LCS has a near mint Creepy Number 7. And I know you're saying to yourself, hey, Zeus, you're saying, oh my God, Jake, why haven't you bought it yet? And here's the answer. I already have a near mint number 7. I already have it, right? And my copy is gorgeous, like so gorgeous. I want to get it graded because I want to hold the most pristine copy currently on the census. I know if I get mine graded, it's going to be 9.9, whatever. I'm going to get a call from the president of CGC, and he's going to say, Jake, oh my God, you have sent us the greatest book ever submitted. We're going to give this a 10.2. And it's that great. They're going to give me a lifetime supply of tater tots.
So how much is it for?
The one down at the shop?
Yeah.
That I think he has it marked at like $100.
Man, that's
near
cheap
mint.
if it's.
And I bet you could get a deal on it. I bet you he'd give you a deal.
Well, I kind of want to do what Paul did and wait till they have a sale and then call it and then claim it and then ask them to give it to you so you can ship it to me. That's kind of what's on my mind right now. And then the second thing on my mind is what's better than one?
But two.
Creepy number 7. Two of them, Jake.
I was trying to share the love. But there is only so many times I can go back there, flip through the bin, see the book, and not buy it. So if you're out there and you want that creepy, don't hesitate. Otherwise, Jake will buy it. Yeah, because yes, I could send 2 of them into CGC, and then I would receive 2 phone calls for the greatest submission of all. 10.1, 10.2. I will be breaking records and hearts. So very cool. I am going to go. Something I want to talk about that actually just recently popped up. A friend of the show, Lance from Comic Book Keepers, he was just in a text group of ours talking about how he just acquired a specific Aquaman book that he sniped for a really, really great price. And you might be slightly surprised when I tell you the book. It's Aquaman 35. And it is a very nice looking copy. I mean, we're talking, for the price he got it, which was, a joke price. We're talking like half of what I just told you that creepy number 7 was. And he got it. And this is a good copy of the book. Now, you may be wondering, well, what's Aquaman 35? And people, that is the first appearance of Black Manta. And it's a good cover. It is not Black Manta's best cover, which we have speculated on this show before. But for the record, I do want to say the better cover, which is Aquaman's second appearance, and like we're talking like a legit top. This is one of the best DC covers I've ever seen. And that is Aquaman number 42. And it's one of the best looking covers ever. But which is a classic cover by Nick Cardy. Second appearance of Aquaman, second appearance of Black Manta. But the thing is he got that book for a steal. And Black Manta is, we're doing another Aquaman movie. I know that these movies, especially when it comes to DC, especially DC right now, when we're literally getting an Aquaman movie that is going nowhere, right? Like it's never going to materialize in anything bigger because we know that James Gunn has taken the DCU in a different direction, which is great. I'm looking forward to it. But that said, it doesn't change the fact that Black Manta is a hell of a good character and a villain that's not going anywhere anytime soon. I genuinely think it's worth a look. And if those books are going that low, under $100, like way under $100, you could get the first appearance of Black Manta or the second appearance and better cover for that matter. I don't know, man. I don't know why these books aren't selling higher. I continue to feel like, kind of like you're saying with that creepy, I just feel like they're going to go. They're going to go up. And at the very least, it is a book I would not mind just having in my collection.
Yeah, the thing about Black Manta too is he's such a cool character, but also like I really feel that the actor who plays him really embodies him, and I can just see like some sort of spinoff with him, like a is it peacemaker, peacekeeper, peacemaker,
Peacemaker.
um,
Yeah.
peacemaker that they did like a series of him, and they like they I mean they have to like him enough where when have we seen that where he's the villain in the first movie and then he's the villain in the second movie? Like like has that happened before?
Usually they kill him off. Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I'm
Usually they
saying.
get
Like
killed off.
they liked him so much, they liked his character arc so much, his potential of the character so much that they said, you know what, let's bring him back. Let's bring him back and let's do it again.
Well, unlike a lot of the MCU villains, that are sort of one and done kind of characters, Black Manta is DC didn't discard. It feels like they didn't discard as many of their villains, and maybe I'm generalizing about Marvel. I'm not trying to start an argument, everybody. But when you look over at DC, Lex Luthor, Black Manta, the Joker. I mean, literally all of Batman's rogues gallery. So many returning villains. DC really didn't they didn't churn them out. I mean, there's definitely a few Calendar Man that like they didn't exactly resurface as often as they should. But I just can't help but think when you look at all of the major villains for Batman, all of the major villains for Superman, all of the major villains, I mean, I don't know. I guess Black Manta is certainly on a higher level, right? I think Black Manta is a good villain that should be collected for sure, and I think that that's something that we will see more of when perhaps the DCU under James Gunn brings a little bit more respect. I guess I don't know. I understand that there is a distinct separation between the movies and the comics. And once again, I am not trying to start an argument because there are a lot of people out there that are like, hey, I'm a fan of the comics way before the movies. Totally. But in the collector's realm, there's certainly a boost comics can get from the movies. And being that this is a speculation segment, I think it's fair to conjoin them in this conversation.
Yeah, and not only that, man, but I kind of glossed over, but to reiterate that second appearance, and I don't I mean I hope you're not saying that, but I don't say it lightly. That's a top comic book cover to me, man. That's
Oh my
like
God.
that's up there.
What they did with the
with-
title on that cover is mind blowing. Like I don't know any other cover that, and most of the time you see you usually don't let the artist just go off the rails when it comes to the title. The title is the title. It's the word art, right?
the logo.
Yeah, the logo. It stays the same for everything. And in this particular instance, and I don't know that they've done it any other time, they let them go off the rails with that cover, and it stands out. Completely stands out.
Yep.
Yeah, go look it up, everybody, if you haven't. Very worthwhile on viewing. So that is it. We have come to the end of another episode of Spec Tales. Yes, cheers, applause for everybody. Thank you so much for making it to the end. Thank you so much for listening. We certainly appreciate it. Please come back next week where we are going to have some amazing guests, maybe some that we had teased a little bit earlier, maybe some that we can tease again right now. We are going to have Brad and Lisa Gullickson from Comic Book Couples Counseling. We are incredibly excited to talk to them. They're going to be on with us. We are going to hear all about their Grail tales, and we may even convince them to get into a little bit of comic book speculation. I know it's not their game, but we're going to make them play ours. So come back next week. Thanks, everybody, again. We will see you next week.